Hi again, I am Stephanie.
And I'm Leon.
And we're going to talk about some Wii updates.
Yeah, a lot of Wii news recently, I feel. We had a recent Nintendo Direct, which is Nintendo's presentation, usually every month or so, where they talk about new things Nintendo. The most recent one on I guess it was May 17th was mostly focused on the Wii U and where the Wii U is going. One of the big things they announced right away was that a new Sonic game is coming. This is it's called Sonic Lost World, and it's an all-new game it's not a remake of an old Sonic game, and it's going to be exclusive to Wii U and 3DS.
So, is it going to be like Nintendo releasing it under Nintendo? And they're just taking the Sega mascot, did they say?
I think it's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo publishes it themselves, but it's definitely a Sega game.
I just wonder if it'll have that Nintendo feel to it, that because other games have a certain vibe.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure about that part. It's good to check up on that. But that wasn't it. That was not the only one. There was also another Mario and Sonic at the Olympics.
Oh, okay.
Why?
I was going to tell you, I wish they would make a Mario and Sonic Olympic game.
Well, this one's a Winter Olympics game. They already had the Summer Olympics, and this is going to be.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yeah. You don't remember that one?
I really don't care. I think those games are stupid. But I'm sure there's lots of.
At least it's Sonic running and not driving a car.
Wouldn't Sonic just win the Olympics automatically?
You would think. But maybe in the winter he doesn't have the advantage.
That's true. It's very slippery.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean those aren't typical games that I play either. Those Olympic compilations, but maybe somebody enjoys them.
There's got to be someone, right? Otherwise they wouldn't make them.
Then they also talked a bit more about Super Luigi U, and this was talked about last month, but they gave a little more information this time. It's going to be either a $20 DLC update for, if you already have Super Mario U, but you could also get it as a standalone game. It's going to be published on a disc as its own game. And I think, I don't know, it's an interesting sort of take on that. They took an existing game and they didn't just reskin it, they supposedly changed all the levels so that it's going to be unique to Luigi.
Yeah. So it is going to be unique. It's not going to be in the options menu to select Luigi as a character. Right.
They also mentioned that there's going to be a bunch of new Game Gear games for 3DS.
Yeah, that was kind of puzzling. I didn't know there was a demand for Game Gear, but okay.
Yeah, and these are a lot of the common Sega published games. So it's going to be a lot of Sonic games in there.
Did they say which ones? I'm wondering.
Yeah, it's going to be
Defender of Oasis, is that one?
I don't remember that one being mentioned. I think. Oh, actually, you're right. Crystal Warriors, Defenders of Oasis, right?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's in there. Or is that two different games? Well,
I just remember playing it, but I don't remember.
I know Dr. Robotnik, their Mean Bean Machine.
Okay.
Mean Bean Machine is going to make an appearance. All the Sonic Drift games and Sonic 1 and 2.
Right. That's not really.
You don't seem excited. Well, the other big thing that came out was that during E3 coming up, Nintendo's going to have a partnership with Best Buy. And they're going to have, presumably, the new games that they're showing off at E3 are going to be playable to the public in Best Buy stores. So the Wii U kiosk that's in all the
That's collecting dust right now. Yeah. I don't think I've seen anyone touch that kiosk since before Christmas.
Right. Yeah, because it's all movies and maybe one demo that actually works. So now you're going to have new unreleased Wii U games playable in the stores. So it's almost like a virtual E3 that people can take part in.
Great idea.
I think that's pretty good, right? And it's said that Nintendo's going to talk about maybe a new Smash Brothers game, a new Mario 3D game.
They desperately need it.
Yeah, well, I mean, previously, though, they did say, they talked about some of the other games they had. They had Pikmin 3. They also had Earthbound was announced last month as like a downloadable title. And a lot
that
of
was
people
big news.
have been waiting for that. So, maybe it's starting to gain some momentum.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new console, so the first year is always going to be tough. There's always not going to be enough software, and especially after this long run of current gen consoles that we've had.
Yeah, it's been kind of extra long.
So we're kind of used to just being bombarded with tons of software.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess the other story that came out was that Nintendo president Satoru Iwata, he's, president of all of Nintendo, he's going to become the new acting CEO of Nintendo of America.
Yes.
There was, it was like someone else who's moved back to Nintendo of Japan, and Iwata is going to take over for the US.
Is that because sales are in the toilet?
Possibly. Maybe this is just an executive shuffle. Maybe this is a way for Japan to have more of a hands-on approach with the US side of the business. Reggie will now report directly to Iwata, and some people feel that that's going to be a way to sort of light a fire on this side of the fence. But who knows? He's an acting CEO, so it almost sounds like it's temporary. To me, it sounds like they're just maybe looking for someone else to fill that role eventually.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so I think this is maybe just like, a thing that companies do once in a while, just to sort of cover their bases while they realign. We'll see. We'll see if that turns into anything. What do you got there?
There it is. Isn't that it?
You're looking at a converter internally?
Yeah, so this was my original Gyromite game from when I first got it. I was one of the first. When the system was first released, it was the mega set with Rob and everything else in the Zapper. So I never actually opened this up to check to see if the converter was in there. And from what I understand, it's not every Gyromite game.
Right.
It's only the first one. So there it is. What does it mean?
It means you can play Famicom games on your NES. You still have an NES?
No. I sold it recently. I do. I have the top loader, but it's in box, and I don't know if I want to open that.
You're never going to open it, huh?
But
it's factory fresh?
No. I might wait for that Mega console that has...
Okay. We'll see if that works with it. But that one has a Famicom slot.
Then I'm going to have to buy Famicom games, right?
Right. That's what some people think. Some people think that Famicom game prices are going to spike now because there's going to be a console that can accept them.
Oh, yeah. They might be right. There's some good Famicom games.
Yeah. But I guess we still have more Wii U stuff to talk about.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I don't want to distract you.
I have a lot to do.
Seems that way.
Okay.
So the Wii U is still kind of rocky, off to a shaky start. What do they need to do to get things moving again? I mean, so far, they've only sold 400,000 consoles this year to date. That's been the estimate.
I believe Xbox is outselling Wii U in America.
Well, so far, I think Xbox sales are still around over the 130,000 per month mark. So that's compared to an estimate of about 38,000 consoles for Wii U being sold per month, or last month. These are estimates because this comes out of the NPD data that tracks sales, but NPD usually doesn't publish their numbers. They usually publish totals, and it's up to people to figure out and extrapolate from other information that's out there.
Extrapolate?
Some people do get these numbers, but they don't share them publicly, so... Yeah, I don't know why. They went to that policy a while ago. So 360 and PS3. PS3 is not that far behind. They're still somewhere in the 100 plus range. The original Wii is outselling Wii U.
Oh, that's...
Original Wii is still moving over 40,000 per month.
That is problematic.
Yeah.
Especially because didn't they cease production on the Wii?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think they're still around.
I just made that up, I guess.
It's making money.
I thought they did.
It's making money for them. So.
Okay.
They don't want to kill it yet. But this is a slow month for games in general. It's down about 25% overall.
Yeah, I mean the whole industry is hurting.
It's in a bit of a slump, and maybe that's in anticipation of the new systems coming out this year, PS4 and.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are waiting before they drop their money.
Right.
I mean, eventually everyone owns everything anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't think the Wii U has given people enough reasons to part with.
Yeah.
$300.
So what do you think? What do you think they need to do then? I mean, they talked about getting more first-party titles out. They want more games that represent the Nintendo experience.
The whole Nintendo problem is it's feeling kind of stale.
Mm-hmm.
Mario Party 9. All right, it's not that much different than the other one. I mean,
are they really up to 9?
They really need a refresh of their brand. I think a little bit. It definitely needs some kind of injection.
Even Miyamoto himself said that there is a bit of a problem with the Wii U in the sense that it's not as immediately more fun the way the Wii was. I guess the issue for them is they need to make more money on it. Maybe if they can reduce costs, maybe it'll be a better margin for them so that they're not. I mean, they still somehow managed to turn a profit this year.
They did, yeah.
The results actually came in the positive.
Yeah.
Despite all this doom and gloom.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the 3DS, if you remember, a couple of years ago, had a similar sort of crisis where it came out at $250 and nobody was buying it and no one really was interested. And then they did a $70 price cut, right? Or was it a $80?
People were already writing off the 3DS.
Yeah, pretty early on, right?
And also lack of software too.
Mm-hmm. Right. So so after only 4 months on the market, the 3DS dropped to $170, the official price, and then sort of momentum was regained, and they kind of took off from there. So with the current pricing, it's $300 for the base set, and then $350 for the more deluxe one. I don't know.
I think, especially with the 2 new consoles coming out, they need to knock $100 off that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if they can afford to do that. I don't really know what the prices or the costs involved are. But another plan that I heard about, though, is this plan that they have to allow smartphone developers to port their games to Wii U. Right? So they have a dev kit that allows them to take their code that runs on maybe another tablet or something.
Okay.
And then able to bring it over and run on the Wii U tablet controller.
So you would have an Android game and then you can just port it over really easily? Because right now, I mean, there's been some games that debuted on the Wii store first, like Mutant Mudds, I think it's called, and some other ones, and then they ported that over to iOS and other devices. But they're talking about the other way around. Right. Yeah. Get smartphone devs more interested in Wii U, and maybe they'll make some money with their existing games. It's kind of a good idea, but they got to remember that these mobile games on Android and iOS are $1. They're free, and Nintendo likes to charge a little bit more for software because I'm sure they want to get a cut too. So I don't know how that's going to work, but
right. Well, I think that's one of the things that Iwata mentioned too. He also talked about maybe alternate pricing for certain games. So he wouldn't. He suggested, well, we're not going to, charge $1 or $2 for our flagship Mario games, but we're open to having other games that are maybe $1 or $2. We're open to maybe free-to-play games that earn money, or you spend money through in-game purchases. Maybe a subscription model would work for some games where you pay a flat rate and you get access to a library of games, or things like that. So I don't know. He seems to be willing to maybe stir the pot a little bit and see what sticks. Do you think any of those things would have any kind of... I mean, the subscription model, I think a lot of people object to, and that's been true over the past with music and things. It would be kind of like a Netflix kind of thing, but for games, where you just pay that flat rate, and then you get, let's say, all of the Game Boy games that...
I mean, they've tried that too with games. I think GameTap did that for a while, and it didn't work. So I don't know.
It's a tough sell.
The one good thing they have going for them is Apple is completely dropping the ball and not embracing that they're such ahead in this gaming market right now, or at least could be.
Right.
And they're not adding a controller or anything like that. So Nintendo still has an edge as far as that whole layout goes.
Right. It's still a game system at heart, and it still has a controller that's adaptable to any play style.
It's kind of a, make or break deal for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, I guess another thing that's also a factor is third-party support, right? We saw some, existing titles come out with Wii U enhancements. Mass Effect 3 came out, and
Arkham Asylum.
Right, the Batman game, and these are games that have been out a little while and then came out.
Yeah.
The perception was that they came out late on Wii U, but they offered something new to give you an excuse to buy it on the system, and integrated the controller, the tablet, in some other way, more creative way. But it seems like EA, for example, is cooling off a bit on the Wii U.
For them to not have confidence in the console. Because obviously it's nothing personal. Because if they stand the chance to make money, they're not going to walk away from that. So they must feel that it just doesn't make business sense to do it.
That's all it is, really. I guess they don't. They see. They haven't been convinced that there's like a good investment there to be made. I mean, they did have a bunch of games, and maybe they didn't do as well as they had hoped.
Yeah.
But there are, there's definitely some other games that will be coming out. I think the next Batman title has been picked up, and even like Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs, those are destined for Wii U also. But the fact that EA is not there kind of reminds people of the fact that EA didn't support the Dreamcast when that first came out.
That's right.
And
we see how that turned out.
We all know.
Well,
where the Dreamcast ended up.
Dreamcast is still going strong. People still love the Dreamcast.
They do love it.
And they are releasing a new game for the Dreamcast.
There's at least
it's just
6 or 7 new games for Dreamcast coming out this year, but they're all indie,
Yeah, no, it's not.
They're not.
It's considered a dead and gone system.
Yeah, definitely. We also saw comments recently from an EA developer who said pretty much the Wii U is crap, and that was his quote. The quote is, "It's less powerful than an Xbox 360. It's got bad online. It doesn't have a good store, and it's got a weird tablet controller that nobody likes to develop for because it's harder to make multi-platform games when the Xbox and the PS, the PlayStation require one style, and then we have to do something different for the Wii U to differentiate it." So I guess a lot of third-party developers might not want to take that extra effort.
Sure, I can understand that. Especially, times are tough, games aren't selling as well, and, it costs a lot of time, and games are getting more and more expensive to produce quality games.
It's true. I think EA was quick to do some damage control, though, and say, "Now look, we haven't announced anything yet, but that doesn't mean we're not going to eventually." Who knows? That doesn't rule out the future, but it's astonishing though that a developer will continue to this went out over Twitter, and I'm just shocked that people still make statements like this publicly.
I know, isn't it amazing?
It's only,
in these high-profile jobs, to say silly things on Twitter.
Your name's attached to the company, and regardless of whether you're a marketing person or in charge of PR or anything like that, you still got to be mindful of the fact that your name, the fact that you work for this company, it sounds like it's coming from the company.
Yeah.
And I don't know, people have to be a little more self-conscious of that, I think. So the other thing that sort of cropped up as a result of, and that came out of Nintendo, actually, is that Nintendo's now is kind of going after these Let's Play videos that fans are producing.
Oh, yeah.
Not that they're going after them, but they're sort of claiming ownership of them.
Well, they feel they should have a piece of the pie.
Yeah, well, I think basically they're attaching ads to these games that Nintendo's going to get the ad revenue for the video instead of the player or the person that created the video. Do you think that's a good idea?
I think it's a bad idea. I really do. Yes, they own that property, and it's kind of weird because it's not like a movie where it's just a set parameter and you can air it somewhere. And if you were like to take a film and say, okay, I'm going to charge people to watch a movie over my house.
Right.
That's kind of not allowed, I think.
Right.
To do. But I think that's that's in a disclaimer somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I don't know in legalities if that's in a fine print when you buy a game, if it says you can't charge, for the viewing of. But on the other hand, it's more of it's not just a movie. You're talking about something that you have the ability to create. Mm-hmm. It's content you create using a specific. So it's almost like a tool. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a gray area, but then you got to think in the broad spectrum of it all. Yes, the Let's Play videos are big, but they're not. This isn't some major thing. Like, to me, it's kind of nitpicking on the fans a little bit. It's like, are they really losing that much money by this?
Well, yeah. The issue for me is not whether
I think they're leaving a bad taste in.
Exactly.
And these are the fans that are really supporting your system.
That's what I mean. You're alienating a segment of your fan base who's basically doing free promotion for you.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's not your message, but a lot of these videos are more interesting to people than like just watching a trailer that Nintendo themselves produced or something. For whatever reason, they like the commentary aspect of it. They like people talking over the game while they're playing it. And it's a unique experience. Every time somebody plays a game, it's going to be slightly different for people, right? So I don't think it's a question of whether it's legal or not for Nintendo to claim ownership of these videos, or even if it's worth the money. I think it's just a question of, do you want to embrace your community, your fan base, and say, thanks for making these kind of videos. We appreciate you getting the word out. Versus, hey, we want our cut, and we're gonna financially punish you for making these videos.
It's totally true. I mean, to me, it's a win-win for Nintendo that these people. I mean, like, for instance, I don't have the Wii U, so I was going through Twitch TV the other day, and someone was doing a speed run of Super Mario Wii U. So I started watching it, and I watched it probably for an hour, and it was fun. I don't have the game, but after seeing it, I was like, oh, this game looks pretty good, and maybe if I ever do get a Wii U, that's probably a game I'm going to buy, because now I've seen someone play it, and
Yeah, you kind of know what to expect from the experience.
Yeah, it's not like something where I watch and like, I don't need to play that game. I saw enough,
Yeah, well, maybe that could happen.
That could happen. I mean, if the game's bad,
Right.
But I mean, the word's going to get around anyway if it's a bad game. So regardless of
encourage them to make good games.
Yeah.
Sure. I guess before we move on, we've got another question to ask ye.
Okay.
Do you feel finding a glitch in a game to exploit is fair?
When you say glitch, you're not talking about like when this is dirty and it's got kind of distorted.
Yeah, we're talking about that there's maybe a bug or something in the game like that allows you to get an advantage that wasn't designed as part of the game.
How about using macros? That's not really a glitch though.
That's a bit of a cheat, I guess. It's a form of a cheat.
Or how about, I remember like in Blaster Master, I think it was for Nintendo, if you had the advantage that could pause and unpause, I think like if you had your bullet over the boss, you could unpause and unpause, and every time it unpaused, it created another damage. It was kind of like some kind of glitch. But like something like that, I think it's fair. It's it's kind of like it's kind of a cheap win if you are playing like in contest kind of thing, but exploits to me are fair. That's it's all part of the game. Cheat to win.
Interesting.
If you call that cheating.
So rewriting the rules is okay.
Yeah, I mean, unless they set a parameter where it says you cannot exploit the game. But then how do you define what's exploiting? Like say you have a technique that it's kind of not a glitch, but you're exploiting how the game should have operated. I think all is fair.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Well, generally, I think I don't like doing that sort of thing. Well, here's why. I mean, I'll qualify it.
Okay.
I think it's worse for games that are really big in immersion. Like if a game creates like an immersive, realistic sort of feeling. I think finding a glitch kind of breaks that illusion of reality, right? It's almost like you just see something. It's almost like you're in the Matrix and something goes wrong, and you're like, oh, okay, now I can see that it's not the reality I think it is. So I don't know, it sort of pulls back the curtain a bit, and it makes you think, all right, this is fake. It's no longer like I'm really there, you know? But I think there's exceptions. There's definitely ways to look at that. I mean, I think, for one thing, I think if you finish the game, if you've played a game through, and you're kind of done with it, and you want to be able to go back and explore the world that the game happened in, treat it more like a sandbox, I think any of those tools are perfectly fine. Like whether it's built into the game as like a God mode, or if there's even, you know, a glitch or something wrong with the game where you can go in and sort of, you know, break the environment, that's totally fine. I mean, that's creating new goals in the game for you to play around with, and it adds to replay value. That's how I kind of look at it. And, you know, it's not the same thing as what you mentioned where, you know, if the game, you know, lets you come up with some winning technique, if it's part of the rules of the game and you figured it out, I think all's fair in that regard. So that's totally fine. But I think it's bad if the game has any kind of online component.
Yeah, well, that's a problem.
If it's a competitive game where your performance is being measured against other players, you know, then it kind of ruins the game system in terms of scoring and so on. So that's the reason that Microsoft bans modified consoles off of Xbox Live. It's not because they pirate games with them. I mean, that's certainly another benefit of banning them. But it's because, you know, on Xbox Live, you're playing multiplayer games and your scores are being tracked against other players, and they want it to be a secure environment that's like safe for people to have, you know, their scores represented and their performance measured fairly. You know, and when we see that on Game Center, right? We see that on iOS games. We go to Game Center and we see ludicrous scores, like and like 9 quadrillion. You know, that probably exceeds like a human lifespan to be able to get a score like that. And you know, it's obvious that people are stuffing their own scores in there, so it kind of invalidates the whole leaderboards. You know, when you see stuff like that. Yeah. So.
All right, so thanks for joining us, and if you have anything to share with us, let us know, and remember that Game Center Challenge is still ongoing, so please send me your challenges, and anything else to add?
No, that's it. If anybody's got a question too, they can send that in, and we'll try to address it.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
See ya.